All right, gonna make a video testing out some more cool metahuman stuff. I picked the project back up based off of an individual called Fractured Fantasy on YouTube who has turned me on to the Oculus lip sync component or plugin. And I actually reached out to him. I went ahead and got on his Patreon because he's done a lot of work. And if you get on his Patreon, you can get his project files. So I appreciate that because I'm lazy and I would like to use his stuff. So anyway, let's see if we can get this going. And we'll real quick, we'll do a what's getting ready to happen. So you all, if you've been following me, have seen the Python app that I integrated the Google APIs for, text to speech and speech to text. And you got to have a Google account to do it. I've done this in C#. Got it working in Python. And this is kind of my go-to thing right now. And what you see in the middle here is this PyAML chat brain. A couple videos back, we were using some of the same code to move a little animated caricature around on the screen. So now we can do it, and this is kind of a hacked way of doing it, but as a prototype, we can do it with metahumans. Thanks to Fractured Fantasy, obviously the Oculus plugin, and then there's another person Fractured Fantasy worked with that modified the Oculus source code to where we could do quasi real-time chat, so and mouth movement. So anyway, we're going to crank up metahumans over here, and which is Fractured Fantasy's work, and I just did some modifications in C++ so I could do this demo. But basically it's a very crude file IO back and forth between the Python app and Unreal. And I know that there's REST clients and there's HTTP plugins and all of this, and I know that there's Google API speech plugins as well from the same author that helped Fractured Fantasy out. I'm not quite there yet on how I think I want to do things. So, and the reason why is that people are out there doing text to speech and speech to text, but it's the brain that we're interested in. And I signed up for GPT-3, and people are trying to do all of this inside of Unreal, and some of the stuff is laggy. And again, the people that follow me know I'm not trying to make a game. I'm just trying to get this stuff to work, and if it uses an external Python app to communicate with Unreal, so be it. So right now the PyAML chat brain is what we're sending the text to. And yeah, we have a little bit of a network lag right here. And the thought process was maybe to put some of this app up into either AWS or Google, and instead of doing file IO, doing sockets. Anyway, that's still, complicated, but that's where everybody is kind of going, as they're using external cloud to do some of this. And if you look and watch this video and this series, you'll learn more about that and how slick that is. So, and blabbing, but Fractured Fantasy basically got me back excited about the metahumans thing. So here's how we got to do it. Okay, I'm using Visual Studio Code now. Okay, get out of here, which I really like. And this is kind of a lame brain hack of this loop. So for people just signing on, the PyBad is kind of a modified, something I modified from some other people, and it's out on GitHub, excuse me, and it's basically listening to the mic and sending out chunks of audio. So it's relatively high performance. Once we get a chunk, we go into our class, this class that I wrote to abstract away whether I'm using Google or AWS, speech to text with the wave data. And then we wait for it to come back. And right now we send it to the AML brain, to the converted text, to see if it has a response. And if it does, we take that text response and then send it right back out to text to speech, so we can get the wave data. And I changed this _raw because it's actually a wave file. The other code I had was a wave file, but with the header stripped off of the audio data. We write it out to this directory, and then now we have to synchronize. This is the only way I know how to synchronize right now with Unreal. And it's basically going to wait for this file, which you don't see here, to disappear. To disappear. We're going to put the file in this directory. Unreal's going to pick it up, realize it's there, process it, play the audio and the lip sync, and do its thing. So this is really hacky, and I don't have my Python plugin code in here, and I might not do that at all. But there's some other ways to skin the cat. But HTTP likes to convert wave to base 64 string, but it's not as efficient in my opinion. So I could do that, but I'm not going to do that yet. Anyway, blabbing. We come down here and then we're writing the session data out each time. And what this does, this comes from the brain, and then we can keep track of the idea is to keep track of the conversations so that the next time you talk to the metahuman, it's got a history. And maybe this gets compiled into some kind of dialogue dictionary or something like that. And then it kind of knows who your name is and who you are. And, it's this conversation stream. So I'm not quite there yet. But anyway, okay, so let's come on over to this example. And I think what I can't really do anything right now. Let's fire this guy up. Actually, let's fire this one up. I know this is hokey. Okay. Wait for this. Say something. Hello. So we got a response back. It's waiting, and you got 5 seconds, and then it's going to delete that file. So it's talking, it's sent back to Google, it's waiting. And this is kind of some code I just added so that the Python doesn't get locked out. And if we come over to here, go on now, I just had you open. What is this thing doing? Okay, we'll push this down. And as I'm talking, Google did its thing. There's the wave. And if it doesn't, the Unreal app is going to delete that file. But if it doesn't do it, the Python will. Okay, so this is up and running. Let's wait. Let's come over here. Yep, kind of hacky, I know. Hello.
Hi there.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad.
I took some time to write this software so you would talk.
Do you take some time to write the software so you would talk often?
Yeah, it took quite a bit. I'm glad you're sort of working. Okay, so it looks like it locked up. All right, did it do it? Let's see. Hello? Okay, did this thing lock up? Yay, demos. Are you there? Okay, looks like there's still some issues. It looks like the Python is in some weird state. Probably because I created that weird state. File got deleted, but it wasn't timing out. Let's try it again. Hello? How are you doing?
Not too bad.
I'm trying to make this demo work.
What is the difficulty?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Does anyone know what you are?
I don't think so. That's the problem.
Groovy.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay. Well, I just added this little bit of code here. This is why this is a hack, and I don't like it. But, see, it's still kind of running. Got to make sure you turn it off. Yeah, 5 seconds. Yeah, he's looping. So I'll have to tweak that. So that's stopped. Anyway, light years ahead of where I was, thanks to Fractured Fantasy. I'm not gonna show you his and their code. Well, I'll show the BP, which I think is okay, because some of it's his, and it won't really work unless you sign up with those guys, which I strongly suggest. The things I added were I couldn't find out how to delete a file inside of Unreal, and maybe there's some other way to do it, but since I have the lip sync code, I just added a function to the component so I could delete the stupid file. So when the, again, this is still hacky, but when we crank up, this is code that just came along for the ride that messes with the face. I don't deal with that. We go in and we, if the file exists, it'll delete it. That's what this code does. We set a timer, and it calls this function which says, hey, does the file exist? Yeah. Are we talking? No. Okay. Go through this process. And this is the regular code that you get from the project. Watch his videos, but to better understand it. But basically what they've got is Unreal has this audio importer, bind to results. I don't necessarily think we need to use this because there's code inside of the lip sync download that you get from Fractured Fantasy that can import waves as well, but maybe it's not event based. But what we're trying to do is we need that wave to get loaded in, and we need to set it on the sound component, on the audio component. Then what this code does is it takes that, it reloads the wave file. It's got code in there to load the wave file again, and that could probably be tweaked. And this is the thing that processes the audio into these Vizime chunks. And this takes a little bit of time. Once that's done, then another Oculus lip sync component is used to play that frame sequence and using the audio component. And so it's doing things, it's playing the audio and it's processing the cooked audio frames, and that is generating events in the animation blueprint, I think. So this has a pretty crazy animation blueprint, and they did lots of work on this, and I'm just doing these little simple things to try to get the demo, to work in real time. And they have examples of how to do it as well. So let's go into the C++, and when you get the plugin, this is what you get. Obviously, if you can't compile plugins and you don't have Visual Studio 2017 or whatever it takes to build plugins, you're going to be dead in the water. But the people that are following along that can get this far, this is how you can modify things. But you don't have to compile the plugins if they're already compiled for your version of Unreal. So right now, this is 4.27. But if you know a little bit about C++, like I do, then you can modify things. So one thing I did on this sync playback component is add an event saying the audio's done. So that was the first thing that the code didn't have. And I think this is from Oculus, obviously. So they just didn't put it in there. And so I put it in there. I looked at this is the C++ of that same component. And what I do is they were nice enough to do on audio percent callback. And this is where the Vizims broadcast happens. And this is how the other parts of the code were done. And then I saw this audio playback finished. And I said, oh, great, let's fire an event. And that's what where are we? Come on now. And that's what happens here. That's the event. So I had to add the event, and then I said, okay, let's go ahead and also add the delete. I didn't want to delete the file right here. I wanted it more programmable. This is what I put together. This code could actually probably go into this lip sync utils library, but that code right there is part of the fractured fantasy stuff. I believe. I'm pretty sure. Need to double check that. So this one, this one, this one. That's new code, and but that's where you could actually put the code. So I could probably take it out of this component and put it someplace else. The other thing I was running into is that I couldn't find this event that I created. I'm expecting these events to show up on these nodes, but it wasn't doing it. And I think that's because it's a different type of node. I kind of wanted something like this to show up here, and this is a different type of Unreal class as opposed to this thing, and that's what I'm still learning. You got to click on this, and then ta-da, there it is. There's my event. So when you click on this event, then it will show up, in your blueprint. And then you're like, oh, okay, there it is. And also when you, let's see, this is the playback actor. If you come up here and you say, you can see this lip sync delete file shows up. Okay, so still being an Unreal noob, I couldn't find this stuff, and that was frustrating. So again, this is just kind of hacked together. It's not what I want. I don't know if we want to try to do the rest stuff because I'm concerned about, converting the waves, from strings to binary. And this thing's already kind of slow as it is, and that's no fault of Fractured Fantasy and the Igor, one of the developers that put the thing together. It does take some time to cook the audio, and again, I'm still learning this code. And why I'm confused is that there's a lip sync capture, and I'm going to try this right now because there was another bug with this. Let's see if it'll work. Oh yeah, it works now. Yay! So this is the original Oculus example, and you can see it's tight. I mean, it's right on it. There was a bug with this that let's do this. Stop. Come over here. Where? Man, yikes! There was a bug with this as well. On 427, 426, it would work. So that was super frustrating. I originally started with this example playing around, and I was using a virtual cable to take Python, load waves, and then send it through a virtual mic, and it would move the mouth. But I wasn't getting any audio. So I was like, oh, I'm just learning this stuff. I don't know how it works. So, but back to the bug. And this is, okay, live capture, sync live capture. This was the bug. They had a hard-coded, this is a different component. And it had this default device. So it uses the default mic device. It tries to go find it, and it uses this hard-coded string. So somebody said on the Oculus forum, oh, you just do this. Well, that's kind of, that's a no-no on Oculus's side. They really should have made this a property, and that's what I was thinking about doing. So I went from 426 to 427, which is what you have to do the Fractured Fantasy stuff, and the lip sync stopped working. So, but this code right here, don't care about Android. Don't care about permissions callback. See, this thing right here gets this voice module, and it sets a timer, and then it processes that voice data and audio feed. So this thing is kind of interesting, but it doesn't play the audio. It just moves the mouth. So, and it's fast. So it's not doing any kind of cooking of the wave data. So my next little experiment, if I can do this in C++ and I could pull it off, is, say I put this right in here. I think I did this, didn't I? I may have done this. I was playing around with this. I actually loaded the wave, and it would partially work, but it's the entire wave file. And the way this component works is it wants chunks. So you see this call right here. This is the money call that's inside of the library. So I might not be able to get away of cooking the data, or I might be able to replace this class, modify this code to where it will chunk just return chunks of the WAV file and then stop. So I hope you're following along with me. This is pretty fast right here. And that's kind of where I'm at with trying to speed things up. We've already got a network lag, and there's just no way you're going to be able to do it on your own system, doing speech to text and text to speech with any quality. And the other thing to realize here is that, you know, we might want to change the brain, and we might want to change the API for the text to speech and speech to text, and use AWS. And I've got a lot more chops in AWS than I have in Google. So the PyVAD, which would run locally, would then be sending the audio chunks up to an EC2 instance that Python that would, you know, make AWS calls to Poly and whatever the other thing. You know, they give these goofball names to these services. And the brain could also live up there. And it could go to either PyAML, or it could go to a GPT-3 with some sprinkles of code around that, do the conversion, and then send back a wave on a socket. And you know, to Unreal. So maybe you have an Unreal component, and all of this stuff in here is running in the cloud. And you could also this text to speech, that's where your voice comes in. And you'll see in the Fractured Fantasy video how he's going out to Real Illusion, and it's doing the text to speech, but it's got a caricature. And that's really slick. And if you could get that to work locally, then maybe it'd be faster. But so that's kind of where we're at right now, where I'm at with this stuff. And I know this has been kind of me rambling. I just wanted to get this video out and get into the, let's see, get everybody up to speed with where I am. And I couldn't have done it without the Fractured Fantasy, and also I think he talks about Igor, who has plugins for Unreal as well. Anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up, and you know, the code, this project's getting more and more complex, and that's why I suggest get on with Fractured Fantasy, so you could get up to speed if you're going in the direction I'm going with the you know, with their example, and then, you know, dovetail, you know, the stuff that I'm doing. I will, you know, give away for free, but it's just little sprinkles of code, you know, here and there. But anyway, if you've you know, listened to me ramble this far, I appreciate it. And I'm back. I'm feeling a lot better about you know, the chat bot and with MetaHumans, because you know, that was a big hurdle I had. And you know, thanks to Fractured Fantasy for helping me out. I think I've said the site's name about, you know, 10, 20 times now, but really appreciate the help. And there's other people out there that are kind of doing this as well, and it's some exciting stuff. So that's all I got. Thanks for listening to me ramble. If you have any questions, you know, just leave them down below, and onward and upward.